Okay, so for this week, I'm going to do a little bit of a review first before we move on to the new content that you are assigned to read and to view. Season 5 of The Guild is quite possibly one of my favorite seasons. You can obviously see how the trajectory of the web series has developed over the 5 seasons with the increasing popularity of the web series, the better the budget, the bigger the budget, and then like the amazing costumes and scenery and the contributions from the fans and the CGI that started in this season and continues on to the next season. So even though season 6 is not assigned for you to watch, I do highly encourage you to watch it just so you can get to the finale, but also see all the cool CGI that they do next season and season 6. But for this season, again, this is also the last season that has annotations in it. And I really appreciate the annotations because they help us who are studying web series and thinking about how to produce your own videos and to develop a language about visual production and transmedia production. The annotations really help to give us some insight into exactly the steps that the writers and the directors and the cinematographers and the producers were going through. And here you can see I have a screenshot here for the mise-en-scène specifically related to costume that they note that Vork's outfit in the script was specified as the worst Star Wars outfit ever. Mission accomplished. Zabu's was stupid-looking fairy. And so you can see here how the producers of these visual media go through the same steps that I'm asking you guys to go through, is to visually, before you actually start shooting something, to walk yourself through the steps and come up with a plan. And I think they really accomplished making the worst Star Wars outfit ever. I mean, the mop on the head, the soap bars as an ammunition belt, and then I don't even know what that is that he's wearing. The fur, it's probably a rug or something. I don't know. It's just ugly, but it's totally Vork, and it makes the series just those attention to details. Also, here we have mise-en-scène with decor. The extra signs in the background say sleazy beards, no cheese, douche, keep off my booty, cheese boy, and off screen, you are no Gouda. So you can again see how there's a plan that goes into this, and it doesn't just involve costume, but also decor, and of course there's a lot of effort going into making the props that are used within the series to be symbolic and also referential to other parts of the narrative, so that it keeps us, the viewers of the series, entertained and looking for new things and other inside jokes. So again, here mise-en-scène, referring to the lighting, the annotation says, it's amazing to think how long it took to light the background of this simple webcam. It takes about 10 lights and a crew of 5 people to set it up. Now obviously, as we move forward with your videos that you're going to be producing, you're not going to have a crew of 5 people to help you to set it up. But I do want you to take the time to notice that when you're getting ready for a scene, that you're going to have to think about the lighting, and that you're going to need to probably, grab some lamps from various places in your apartment, or think about what time of the day is good lighting. One thing to know, if you plan on eventually shooting outside, the best times to shoot outside are between like 9 a.m. and 10, and then again around like 3 to 5. That can change, but I want you to pay attention. Like, just over the next couple of weeks, maybe take some photographs outside at different times of the day and notice when the lighting is best. You really do not want to shoot outside when it's like high noon, because the shadows that the sun casts are just awful. And they can also be really bad between the hours of like 5 and 7 when the sun is setting. Now the time has changed, so I'm not exactly confident about these times. But when the sun is behind your object, when it's setting, it can look really awful until you get more into the dusk or the evening time. So again, you're going to be wanting to think about, like, where can I move my lamps in my apartment? Or what time should I go outside and shoot this scene, because I want the lighting to be good, not awful. Okay? So we're working with limited budgets, but we also need to be conscientious. That's my point. Now, for cinematography, again, when we're talking about cinematography, you're thinking a lot about quality. And we're going to be shooting our videos on our cameras. There is absolutely, or our smartphones, there's absolutely no reason for you to like worry about going out and getting a really good camera for this particular project. But again, wanted to draw your attention to this. This footage of Tink was actually shot on an iPhone and then degraded in post-production to look like an SD camera. Now, again, most of us have smartphones that shoot high quality video. And it's interesting here that they actually had to degrade iPhone footage in order to make it look like it was done on a poor camera. So we don't need to worry about doing anything really high tech. There are other courses offered here at Coastal where you would have access to really great cameras, but for this particular project and for what we're talking about, what we're thinking about, I find it far more interesting just to use the smartphones that we already have in our pockets. If you are somebody who does not own a smartphone, I actually have never encountered one student who doesn't in the last 5 years I've been doing this project. But if you do not have one, the Kimball Library has cameras that you can check out and rent. So you can look that up on their website. Now, for sound, again, the annotations help to clue us in on what they're working with. So you see with the first screenshot in the upper right-hand corner, they've noted that if you listen to this scene, there's a ton of sound design trying to make the Master Chief's armor sound like real armor. It made it funnier somehow with the music. And if you go back and watch that footage, you can see that they made a choice to add a musical, non-diegetic soundtrack to that scene, and we're going to be talking about how to do that and showing you how to add layers of music on top of the video that you've shot. And then the bottom the bottom left-hand image says the Walla Walla sounds, the sounds of people talking in the background, are added in after shooting too. Extras have to pretend to talk when filming, which is weird. So again, you might need to, when you do your video, depending on what kind of narrative you decide to tell, you might need to think about that. Like, I want to have people in the background, but if I have people in the background, I don't want to mess up the sound that I'm shooting by having them actually talk. So you have to make them pretend to talk. There are lots of tricks to make the video appear like what you're shooting is real life, but actually a lot of work goes into making that real life illusion possible so that you can have that willing suspension of disbelief that Miller talks about in your assigned reading from Digital Storytelling textbook for this week. So the willing suspension of disbelief is something that where you try to trick your reader or your viewer into thinking that they're watching real life when actually you know that you've put hours and hours and hours of forethought and time into creating just a few minutes of video through careful thinking up of dialogue, choice of actors that are, extras that are going to help you out, and then sound, camera placement, lighting, costume, decor, all the things that go into making sound video, and to do what we call multimodal writing, which is writing that employs different modes than just using the alphabet. So typically when a professor asks you to do some writing, what you're going to do is you're going to type up, words on a piece of paper, print it out, and turn it in. We do multimodal writing in this class where you write not just with words, but also with images, with sound, with props, with costume, with all the different things that go into making a nice, confident video that other people would be interested to watch. And now again here, Another annotation on sound. A lot of stuff can be totally convincing with just sound design. Every punch and kick and slam that you hear was inserted later to make it seem more dangerous. So the good thing is that with most of the video editing software and apps that are out there now, that you can choose from like this, array of sounds to add later, and you guys are going to be able to work on some post-production editing of your own with just a few simple clicks. Now, one thing that was interesting about season 5 is that we have a focus on steampunk. And steampunk is, as the definition from the Oxford English Dictionary here shows, a subgenre of science fiction or science fantasy that incorporates technology and aesthetic designs inspired by 19th century industrial steam-powered machinery. And we saw in the 3 characters who represented steampunk that Clara became obsessed with. And then the eventual creation of their blimp, which was awesome. And steampunk has become really popular in the last decade. There's been a lot of serious overlap between the sort of obsession with technology that's been made possible here in the 21st century, and also the beginning roots of technology, the way that we think of technology as being industrial, factory, steam-powered, that was really coming to the forefront in the 19th century. And you see those overlaps here in this season with the steampunk crew that are supposed to be like the mean kids that are so above all the other mainstream Philistines that are at the convention. And it becomes quite the aesthetic. It's an aesthetic theme within this particular season. So here we have the blimp. And here you can see, interestingly, the overlap between this obsession with steampunk, where they've made a blimp out of, discarded bits, ladders, bags, shower curtains, curtains from the hotel, etc. And is supposedly powered by a regular, sort of like cog motor, and 21st century technology. This is the CGI. And so surprisingly, we didn't actually get the blimp to float. It's all CGI. Here's some outtakes so you can see how we just shot on the green screen. I encourage you to go back. You can see here that this occurs at 1 hour, 23 minutes, and 27 seconds in. This annotation does. So you can go back and click on this link and watch the video of how they got the actors that were in the blimp and the actors that were allegedly in the crowd to overlap and respond to one another. I find outtakes like that really fascinating to give you, again, some tricks, some behind-the-scene tricks on how you can make CGI work. We will not be employing CGI this semester, but again, a little bit of education goes a long way, so I encourage you to watch that footage and find out a little bit more about how CGI works. Now, here we have, again, going back to the idea of finances, which when you're dealing with a web series and it's a visual medium, there are a lot of finances that come into play. Like, how do you pay for the location sites? How do you pay for the actors, salaries? How do you pay for the costumes that they need? How do you do all of these things? And one of the things that they mock in the fifth season of the Guild is all of the transmedia and TV and movie stars that are there who are doing signings for money, where the fans actually have to pay them money in order to get them to sign pictures or books or whatever they have. And the Guild is very forthright in the fact of how they get their finances. And here you can see in the annotation, they say one of the reasons, there's a typo, the Guild has run as long as it has is that the cast and DVD have been supported by convention appearances. So take that, Bork. So, you have to be really sort of savvy when you're trying to make art outside of the traditional, distribution feeds where, you're not going to the traditional movie theaters and getting finances from them. Okay, I'm going to stop here and then we'll pick up again in the next video.